Hello, listeners. Welcome back as we are dropping another episode in our series sponsored by our good friends at Railsware. Railsware is a leading product studio with two main focuses, services and products. They have created amazing products like Mailtrap, Coupler, and Titan apps, while also partnering with teams like Calendly and BrightBytes. They deliver amazing products and have happy customers to prove it. In this series, we are digging into the company's methods around product engineering and development. In particular, we will cover relevant topics to not only highlight their expertise, but to educate you on industry trends alongside their experience. In today's episode, we are speaking with Nika Tamayo Flores, product lead at Railsware, specifically for the Coupler product. She's been leading complex, data-driven products for over 8 years and will enlighten us on conversational analytics and how they can change a data-focused product. Nika, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for being on Code Story. Excited to dive into our topic all around conversational analytics and how it can change a data-focused product. Thank you for being on the show today.
Oh, thanks, Noah, and hello, everyone listening.
Really excited to dive in today. You spent a lot of time at Railsware and the Coupler product as well. We're going to dive into both things. You started in the marketing world and then dove into product management, was really apt into this conversation. Before we jump to the topic itself, let's define what exactly we mean, though, with a few things, specifically conversational analytics. What does that mean, and how does it differ from traditional dashboard-based data analysis?
So basically, traditional analytics is like a monologue, right? So you have a dashboard in front of you. It shows you something. At times, you might not even be sure who created it and what's exactly there. Luckily, you know those things, but not all the time. And if you want something different, then you either need to use some filters if BI engineers put it there, or you need to get this data and create a pivot table, or you need to go and back for your data analyst to change stuff. And with conversational analytics, it's like a dialogue. Like you can chat with your data. You can actually ask an AI assistant that you use, like, why did my conversion rate drop, or what happened with my landing page visits and things like that. And you can get answers. And those answers can also be enriched with a specific context of your organization and not just generic metrics, or by this AI tool knowing who you are and why do you ask those questions, like for what kinds of reports and things like that. So basically, the difference is that when you look at dashboards, it's assumed that you know where to look, what questions to ask. And with conversational analytics, it basically meets you where you are. You don't need to know any tech tricks, SQL pivot tables, anything to describe what you want to understand.
Yeah, that makes sense. One seems very flexible, and the other is static and doesn't really change with how you're changing in your analysis. You've been integrating AI capacities into Coupler itself, which Coupler is an amazing product built by the Railsware studio. Railsware products, and this product is focused on data analytics. How would you describe data analytics in pre-AI versus AI era? Because there's a difference there. There's a difference in probably some overlap between how you described traditional dashboards and conversational analytics. So I'm curious what you had to say there. Describing data analytics pre-AI versus AI.
Yeah, so pre-AI was basically focusing on democratizing data access. So remember that when IT departments were the ones that were leading analytics, basically, so you needed to wait a lot if you were a business customer asking for some kind of things. No one knew SQL back then. And all of a sudden, there was Excel. And then after like tens of years, there were those BI tools, which democratized data access. And then the data wrangling tools that allowed you to have like Excel on steroids that has additional functions and all those kind of things where you could do some visual analysis like as you go. So the pre-AI was mostly focused on democratizing data access. In Coupler, pre-AI was basically solving the getting the data problem to get those automated exports, connect hundreds of sources, and you don't need to copy-paste things. You can blend the data from different sources in a single format, right? And then you can use it like very easily with not a lot of manual labor. So that was pre-AI. AI era is more about democratizing understanding of what's underneath the data, because you're not interested in data per se. You want to make some decisions. You want to understand what's happening. You want to get a hold of some insight and things like that. So basically, now all of us data analytic tools that are getting on with AI functions like AI insights and things like that, we're trying to help customers to understand what's happening with their data. They have tons of data. So now they need to understand what's there, get some recommendations, some actionable next steps, provide some ideas they might not even think about because they're like in their own bubble. AI is another thing, right? It's not in this bubble. It has a lot of knowledge all over the internet. And not only that, so it can give you some additional insights. Another thing that changed was not only the data thing per se, but also like these economics. So pre-AI to scale analytics, you needed to buy new tools or hire new people or things like that. But now you can scale pretty much automatically or very quickly. You don't need a lot of time for that. You might need just a good prompt or good custom GPT and you can scale the thing. So it's different, not only in terms of what it is, but economic wise.
So when I look into Coupler, I would imagine that going back to conversational analytics and putting that into Coupler, you ran into some things that were probably difficult to solve. Can you tell me about the key challenges to embedding conversational analytics into Coupler specifically?
One of those was obviously the context window limits. You can have only like a certain number of rows basically to put them into Claude or ChatGPT or Perplexity, Cursor, whatever it is that you're using because the model doesn't a lot of memory. It has much more memory than humans do because I cannot remember 100 rows and I don't think you can, but I do. Some people do. With AI, it's the same, basically, right? The same problem. You need to put somehow those things into the memory. So when our customers who have hundreds of thousands rows or even millions of rows, it is just impossible for them to fit. So this was one of our technical challenges. We needed to overcome this somehow. And what we did, we basically started simple. There is a thing that's called schema. Basically, that's a description of all fields that you have in your data set. So we're feeding schema with a description of the names of each column, its data types, and some additional information like metadata about the source. And we also feed 5 to 20 rows so that LLM could see what's there in this data. And based on that, it can write SQL queries, and it's very good at it. And then we query the real data on our side, those queries written by LLM. Another thing was a product challenge. Obviously, not all people know what AI is, even though you might think there's no one. But again, that's another marketing and tech bubble that we're in. Not all people know that. And speaking of our customers, like marketers and finance people and e-commerce managers, not all of them know what it is, and some of them that don't trust it. So we have this massive challenge that we're getting through about making people understand what it is and how it could benefit them. And then also there's obviously economic cost because AI can like basically bump all of your budget. So you need to be very careful with quota management and things like that. And safety concerns because people want to know that their data, which often has like amount spent on ads and maybe some data about their sales reps making deals and things like that, that it's safe. So that's another challenge that we have, explaining how we treat this and how different AI tools treat this. Because even if we're safe on our side, when you pass data to AI, there's another challenge there, like to opt out from the model training and things like that. So basically those were like the main challenges: the text, the perception, the safety challenge, and the economic challenge.
Sure. Particularly the safety and the trust aspect. I hear that a lot, and that makes a lot of sense that people are bringing that up. In embedding conversational analytics into Coupler, what is the result, right? You've released AI insights. How do they transform user experience and data exploration? So tell me about how that process now works for those people and what kind of feedback are you getting?
So basically, AI insights, they are working on our native dashboards. We have our own visualization platform inside Coupler. It's like web-based. So when a user goes to a dashboard that has insight, they have this shiny purple button saying AI insights. And when they click on it, we pass an aggregated data from this dashboard to AI with a custom-made prompt written by me. It's like a long one, a complicated one. It has a role play. It has a lot of different aspects there. And then after 20, 30 seconds, depending on the amount of data, might be faster if there's not a lot, might be longer if there's like tons of rows. User get insights like key findings, trend information, and some actionable recommendations, like top 3 recommendations. And basically, the most important thing why we did this was people asking, okay, so I have this nice shiny dashboards with ton of metrics. What do I do next? where do I put my attention? What I should be aware of? What things require actions just right now and what things can wait? So we're solving this problem for them. We pinpoint things for them to take a look at. Of course, let's say I can make mistake and we have this disclaimer that it can make mistakes. But what's, I guess, the most important result is that users don't need so much time to understand what they need to check or do next. We're just shrinking this time for decision making. And now another thing is that people who are not experts in marketing, for example, or finance or sales or anything like it, they can have a description of what's happening with their company in a human readable language without the need to attract some kind of analyst or domain expert. So everyone can benefit from democratizing of this expertise. What we also check is you can, as a user using AI Insight, you can react to those insights. So you can put this some up, some down buttons to and write us a comment about what's there. And what we see is like almost 90%, 89 to be specific, satisfaction rate since we've launched, which tells us basically a story because users aren't just like looking at them. They are reading them, they react to them, and that's an important thing. It's very hard for us to actually figure out how much less time users spend on decisions unless we can only tell what they are telling us. And all of them are telling that it takes much less time to make a decision or to check some next thing or at least understand what to do.
Well, that makes sense. And I think something that jumped out to me there was the shrinking time to making decisions. You're getting great feedback, but shrinking time to making intelligent decisions based on data is a huge win for an organization, right? How do you ensure that conversational analytics provides accurate and reliable insights? Because you can shrink that time and people are liking it, which is a very positive thing in the product. But how do you make sure that they're accurate and reliable?
So the first thing first is prompt engineering. We are going to be doing some context engineering real soon. The main difference here is context basically gives additional context to the model, not only the data that it sees, but additional context about the industry or company or something like that. So we're going to be adding that soon. But for now, it's just prompt engineering with specific constraints. Maybe you've seen some leaked prompts of foundational prompts of famous models, and they have like things like, do not do this or do this. So I have something very similar. Do not make up numbers. Or if you are referring to a number, make sure it comes from the data. I checked that while we were testing, and every time we launch new model, we basically test it, right? So that's the first thing. We're trying to avoid hallucinations. Another thing which really helps is that the AI knows the schema of the data. So basically all of the columns. It's a complete information about the data that's represented. So this also helps preventing hallucinations. Another thing is that each of our templates that feature insights, they have a tailor-made prompt, which is different. So there are no two prompts that are the same. Managing them is another story. We have a software for that. But basically, this also helps because it's not some generic thing, generate me like 5 insights based on this data. No, AI knows exactly where this data comes from, knows exactly like questions to ask to this data. And then also we have this feedback loop. We have this satisfaction rate. We have those comments that people leave us. That's how we can improve. So basically, I would say those are most important things. But again, even with insights, all AI work, basically all results, they need human oversight. We're not in a situation right now where you can simply leave AI doing whatever it thinks it's good to do. No, it's rather a co-pilot, again, not a pilot. It's like a second pilot, right? It gives you ideas, but you need to use your human judgment to figure out if those ideas are worthwhile at all.
Okay, how does conversational analytics change who can be a data user in an organization? In the past, you'd have to know your way around to pull data, to analyze data, to be able to manipulate it in some sort of way to come to that decision. But all this is making that easier. So how does this change who can be a data user?
Now, pretty much anyone who has access to data and AI tool can be a data user. So you don't need technical knowledge about SQL or Python, or even pivot tables of formulas in Excel or Google Sheets. So you can ask questions in plain language, not even in English, because those AI tools, they're quite good at translating to all of the major languages. But of course, English performs the best, but still, you can ask questions in whatever language that is. So everyone with access can use this, right? So it's not only analysts now, those can be anyone, including, and most importantly, stakeholders. And also what makes me really happy is that small business owners also can have access to this, to their data, the data of their organization being explained in human language to them. So I guess that's one of the most important things. So all of that is now flat, and this new bottleneck is access, trust, and data quality. So now when everyone can have access to data, and not only analysts who know how to clear it, and they do a lot of pre-processing oftentimes. I used to do it myself. I work in the data science consultancy, also worked with data quite a lot and did quite extensive data preparation. So now you can have for data from the system now of your choice, the one that you have access to. And then the data quality is like a real question now, but anyone can have access. What's the most important?
That aligns with how you were describing conversational analytics and the changes and how they transform the user experience. It makes sense that pretty much anybody can do it. And with that, I think, what's the learning curve for organizations to adopt these conversational analytics? If everybody can jump in and use it and it's natural language, conversational type of things, what's the learning curve for folks?
This curve is not steep at all. If you can use AI tool, you can start with those kind of conversational analytics exercises. The interaction is very familiar, this chat-like format, so there's like not a lot of things to learn. However, I strongly suggest to all of our customers and to my colleagues playing with different AIs to learn some basic things about prompt engineering and that context engineering, and to be as specific as they can, provide examples. There's 80-page article, like a paper, basically 80-page paper about different prompting techniques. There is a trick for you. So you can have a PDF of this article, put it in Claude or ChatGPT or whatever that is that you're using, and ask it to help you to craft prompts. And then take those prompts and use them, and then interact with AI like in a very natural way, how you would interact with your colleague or something. So the challenge is not technical at all. It's the conceptual. So users need to figure out how to ask those questions. It is like a bit specific, very similar to how you talk to your colleague, but again, a little bit of prompting needed. And also those big companies, Google, for example, they taught people for years that they need to write like very specific things, like whatever, TV by the name of the city, or like the model and then the name of the city, and then it gets results. It's not the same with AI. So this is, I guess, the most challenging part. For now, not understanding the data per se, but understanding how to talk to AI, how to interact with it. And yeah, those kinds of challenges also with trust and permissions, but those not so much for a learning curve, rather like the overall organizational challenges. So pretty much zero prerequisites.
Super cool. That's awesome and exciting. I know organizations hearing that it's easy to use. It's everybody can use it, as everybody can become a data user, and there's not a big learning curve there. Where do you see this going? Where do you see conversational analytics heading? And will it eventually replace traditional BI tools like the ones we're talking about with the more static dashboards and a little more rigid, or will they complement them?
Yeah, I believe that these new tools, they will complement the ones that we had before, not replaced, at least in the like upcoming years. No forecasts for the longer future. Basically, it will complement what you have already. So dashboards are still needed for ops. You need to monitor your KPIs. You need to have your very straightforward alerting system that will notify you when some metric is below a certain threshold or above a certain threshold. So you still need those things. You still want this TVs in your office with those graphs and gauges and things like that. You still want that. But then when you are talking about finding some new ways and discovering how your users are buying or using your products, or how your organization is doing in general, or you're looking to find something that you're not sure exactly like what is it that you're looking to find, then there's conversational analytics when you need to explore the data, when you want to see what's there, when you're not sure what you're looking for, or when something had happened and you're not sure why. Like for those kind of things, conversational analytics like really is a good choice. Not the dashboard, it's more of a reactive thing. And then the conversational analytics is more of a proactive thing. So the next step that we're seeing already is BI tools integrating those capabilities. And you can have those already and those connectors that they're also developing that will help you to connect AIs to like those dashboard tools that you've previously had or to those data warehouses that you've previously had. So I think that in the nearest future, dashboards are not going anywhere. They will still be used quite a lot. And I don't think basically that you can have conversational analytics if you haven't had BI before. So that's like more of another layer on this analytics cake, if I may. So that's like the next step, not something that replaces the previous one. So I think that the dashboards are not going anywhere, but the dominance is ending. We're not speaking about static reports anymore, speaking dashboards, but which are predominant now, but it's ending. And the future is somewhere in between those conversational analytics and those dashboards as a support.
That makes sense. The dominance is ending, and the enabling of data users in an organization changes the game in that sort of way. Nika, I really appreciate you being on the show. This has been very illuminating for me from a conversational analytics standpoint. In embedding conversational analytics into products like Coupler, the result is pretty outstanding, right? Enabling an organization to have any user come in and become a data user. You don't have to have prior knowledge of how to get the data or manipulate it. The learning curve is small. Anybody can jump in and use it. And it's going to end the dominance and the rigidity of traditional dashboards, allowing people to pull information and make decisions and shrink that time to decision making. So that's all very clear now. I really appreciate you being on the show and explaining all this.
Thank you so much, Noah. Thanks for having me.
No doubt Nika knows her stuff, but in this conversation, it was fascinating to learn how conversational analytics not only enables flexibility in analytics research, but also enables more people to have access to data-driven insights. Thank you for listening today. If you would like to learn more about Railsware, please visit their website at railsware.com. That's RAILSWARE.com. And thanks again for listening.